major do you want to focus on? This is hands down the hardest question I get from each student I work with. And I know it's hard. At 17 or 18, how are you supposed to know exactly what it is that you want to do? Here's some questions you might want to ask yourself. What subjects do you enjoy? What lights you up? What are things that are considered fun to you? If you enjoyed English and history, I would probably steer clear of bioengineering in college. It might seem that you're much better with your words than you are with formulas. So go ahead, take a look at your transcript and see what it is that you excelled at. And also take a look at what it is that you're passionate about too. First, there are two paths on what makes you choose a major. One route is to go the liberal arts major. Liberal arts is where you can take classes that are similar to high school, but you could say more like souped up. This includes English, history, psychology, economics, sociology, anthropology, any language. I mean, that's a lot of majors. It really allows you to pick a major and really go deep into that subject. Now let's talk about some of the careers you can receive after going to a liberal arts college. There's been a lot of controversy that people think that unless you pick a career-focused major, that you may not get something. But keep in mind, there are a lot of things you can do. So for example, let's say you do English. You could end up being an editor, a copywriter, which is huge for people in the marketing world. You could be a marketing director, and so much more. Let's say you pick history. You can end up being an archivist, a lawyer, an activist, or someone who changes policy. Let's say you choose foreign languages. You could be a translator. You could work for the government, and so much more. Let's say you choose psychology. You could work in social work. You could definitely help with being a psychologist and listen to people. And there's so many other different jobs you can do that involve behavioral science. So as you can see, there's a lot of options you get from just doing a liberal arts degree as well. The second option is the career-oriented major. This is where you specifically choose a major that gears you and funnels you into a specific career. For example, there's engineering, nursing, medicine, culinary arts, music, and so much more. Go to this link to find out more information about different majors and do a little research for yourself. Also, don't forget we do have a great other course focused on how to pick the major and hear from the inside secrets of my team to tell you about their experiences with different majors. After visiting the link, I would love for you to spend a little time and jot down what are majors that interest you. Another way to look at this is to look a few years ahead. Maybe you should start asking your questions like, what kind of lifestyle do I want? What does it take to get there? A lot of people think they want to go into medicine, they get all the way through and realize that's actually not what they wanted to do. Make sure you take a look and see what kind of investment it takes of time, energy, and money to get to where you want to be. Let's go ahead and write down some of the professions you're interested in the workbook now. The third factor is looking at your strengths and looking at your personality. Are you someone that's extroverted or introverted? Are you someone that really likes to be a leader or part of a team? These are really important factors to look at because if you're extroverted and you stick yourself in a solo laboratory by yourself 8 hours a day, even though you may be passionate about what you're doing, you didn't consider your personality very strongly or what you excel at in terms of being around people versus not. And that's extremely important when looking into a profession. Let's go ahead and take some time to look at the personality traits that you excel at, subjects you love, extracurricular activities that just light you up, and write that all down in the workbook now. I know you've done so much work in the workbook, and I wanted to give you a bonus video where you can watch a one-on-one interview of me and one of my coaches talking about what it was that made them pick their major, what were they like in high school, what was their high school like, and so much more. This is actually a feature from one of our other courses on how to find the right major for you, secrets from our elite students. I know you're gonna learn so much from hearing from a mentor one-on-one with me. Hi, my name is Neha Gupta, and I am so excited to have you here today. I'm here with one of my best coaches, Ashley, who's going to tell us all of her top secrets on how she applied to college, a little bit about her own story, and really what makes her who she is. And, of course, learn all about the passion she has behind why she's majoring and what she's majoring. Hi, Ashley. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. So I wanted to talk with you just a little bit today. And tell me, what are you majoring at Rice?
My major is health sciences, which is under the kinesiology department.
Okay, awesome. And can you tell me a little bit about what you were like as a student in high school?
Oh, absolutely. In high school, I was definitely the overachiever, the goody two-shoes, would freak out if I had anything less than a 95, on my report card.
Sounds familiar.
Yes. I was definitely I tried my best to be well-rounded. Always keeping in mind that, it wasn't just about the academics, but it was about using my passions to figure out, what kinds of activities do I want to be in. So I was in volleyball, I was in track, I was in choir, I did a lot of volunteer work, and I also tried to be involved in National Honor Society, Mu Alpha Theta, which was the Math Honor Society, Spanish Honor Society, and I went on to kind of show my leadership skills by later becoming the president of NHS, and being just as involved as I possibly could.
Awesome. And you did sports too, it sounds like.
Yes.
Awesome. Did you ever do a varsity sport?
I did. Both volleyball and track were varsity.
Wow. Did you ever feel stressed out in high school?
No, I didn't, which is really amazing now that I think back to it. Just, as in college, I feel much stronger stress. But back then it was so much fun. It was about me doing what I loved, and it was about just being involved in the things that really made me excited and made me want to get up in the morning. And, I did volleyball was the perfect way to relieve stress, if I had any. I mean, I'm sure I was stressed out, sometimes, but they were very minimal situations.
Definitely. Would you say you were one of the popular kids in high school?
I would say that I was popular for being who I was. I had a very wide range of friends from volleyball, from all the different things that I was a part of. So I had these little niches around campus, and everybody kind of knew me as like, oh, that's Ashley, really funny, really smart, always is on top of her game. So I wouldn't say it's like one of the cool kids, but I was definitely popular for what I was.
Awesome. And what was like the size of your high school?
Oh, my high school was huge. It was a public school, and in my class alone, I think there was around 900 students.
Wow.
Yes.
So different than what I went through. I went through a class with maybe 120 students in my high school.
Mm-hmm.
So top 10% for us was 12 kids. Where did you fall in the rank of your high school?
I actually graduated as salutatorian, so second in my class.
Awesome. And so I'm assuming you took a lot of honors and AP courses.
Yes, I did. When there was an honors or AP class, I was signed up for it.
So was I.
Yeah.
Eventually I had dropped out of one because I was like, I don't think I'll need this. But I ended up needing it at Rice. So you mentioned a little bit about how you didn't feel this large amount of stress until college. Mm-hmm. So can you talk a little bit about some of the colleges you applied to during the college process?
Yes, definitely. I applied to Rice University here in Houston, Trinity University, which is in San Antonio, which is where I'm from, Cornell University, and the University of Notre Dame. So I only applied to 4 colleges. So
wow, pretty small list.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
And what was your college counselor like in high school? Did you get a lot of one-on-one time with their team?
I believe I got one-on-one time with her because I was very proactive about it. I made sure I went to go see her. I developed a close relationship with her so that she knew who I was, because I knew she was going to be the one, writing one of my recommendation letters for college. So I said, she has to know who I am. So she and I were very close. So that, I think, really helped a lot.
Would you say there were some kids that didn't do as much effort as you did in the process of working with her?
I would say yes. I remember she would tell me stories about how she would have kids coming in at the last minute, and she would say, well, I just have to put a generic letter out there because, I don't know who this person is.
Totally.
So I definitely felt like I had an advantage over, some other kids by developing that one-on-one time with her.
And how many kids were there to the number of counselors?
Oh man, I believe that there were around 10 counselors maybe at my high school. So, you know, and they were divided by alphabetical order. So,
Wow.
yeah.
So that's a lot of kids per counselor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's interesting. I grew up in a school where we had over 5 to 6 counselors for 120 kids.
Oh, wow.
So the level of detail we got was incredible. And that's why I really felt the need to share this knowledge, because not everyone gets that level of attention when it comes to the college process that's so needed. And that worries me that there's kids that are being left behind that could be incredible students, but they just don't have all the instructions and direction they need for the college process. I'm sure you know it's pretty extensive, even just for the 4 schools you applied to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's definitely also, you know, just being a student, you kind of have to realize you have to be motivated. If you don't have those resources to do it yourself, to find out, you know, what do I need to be doing? My parents would always say, you know, thank goodness you were so just self-motivated, because, you know, half the time they didn't really know what was going on. I was doing all this stuff on my own.
Totally. You know, I know we've talked before, but can you tell me about your family? I mean, were they all top graduates? Like, what is their educational background? Why was it such a big deal for you when you went to Rice?
Yeah, well, my dad, he graduated from St. Mary's University, which is in San Antonio, and went on to do business. And my mom, she actually came from Mexico, so English was her second language. She graduated at the university there, and I believe she got she studied psychology. And so when she came here, you know, none of her degrees were recognized, so she had to go back.
Wow.
She was a stay-at-home mom at first. So once I was in elementary school, she went back to school and she started studying to become a teacher. So it was night classes, you know, just really being independent, hardworking. You know, at one point my mom and my dad actually split up. So that actually fueled her to go back to school, because she had to raise us on her own. And she was the best mentor and the best, you know, figure and role model for me, because I saw everything that she went through. I believe in 6th grade, and I was there sitting with her, helping her write some of her essays, because English was her second language. And so I was there pure, you know, editing. And
yeah.
So it was a big deal when I went to Rice. It was really exciting, because I kind of, you know, expressed that to my parents. It's like how much my mom really motivated me to be where I was.
Totally. Yeah, my mom's second language was also English, and it's a whole nother ballgame.
Oh yeah.
Especially 20, 30 years ago when they came. So I can only imagine. Thank you so much for sharing that. Means a lot, because I know that a lot of students out there might be struggling with something difficult during their childhood. Not everyone has the most perfect picture life. I sure didn't as well. So it's really nice to be able to connect with some of the people that might be experiencing the same thing. But let's get back a little bit to the colleges you applied to. So you applied to 4 colleges. Let's talk about the ones you got into. Did you get into each one of them?
Yes, I did.
Okay, awesome. So you did get into Cornell. Tell me why you chose not to go to Cornell.
So all throughout high school, I wanted to be a veterinarian. And that was, you know, I'd been shadowing veterinarians, and I was looking up colleges with vet programs and, you know, getting very excited about it. And I learned about how Cornell had, you know, one of the top vet schools. So I said, I want to, you know,
I visited Cornell. I really did that twice, yes.
Yeah, and, you know, and for me, it was kind of always the Ivy League, right, was this big dream to have. I remember at one point I was like, Harvard, but then I actually didn't end up applying, because I did all this research, and I had, you know, my other schools. Rice was a school that I grew up just always hearing about. Oh, it's the Ivy League of the South, and all this stuff, and it is. So I said, okay, you know, that's not too far away. So then, as I started getting my acceptances, I started kind of being, well, maybe I don't want to be a veterinarian. You know, I'm not really positive. I had kind of a bad experience at the vet's office that really was just kind of like, oh, maybe I'm going to go a different route instead. I love animals, but I don't know if that's going to be my life passion and goal. So I, you know, got all my acceptances, and I said, okay, I'm going to visit the ones that are close by first, because I had to think economically. You know, my parents, we had a tight budget, and I didn't want to put any strain on them, and it was hard. So I said, okay, I want to check out Rice first. There's Owl Days, let's go to that. And Owl Days ended up being I mean, it changed my world. I said, I want to go here. And I remember my mom saying, are you sure? Like, you don't want to see any of the other schools? And I said, no, Mom. Like, I know. I had a gut feeling, and I went with it.
The gut feeling is something I try to tell all my kids about, because you can feel like the way you felt at that vet's office and you were like, this doesn't feel right. We have to listen to that. It's so important. And so many times we ignore that feeling and we go the wrong direction when we should have just listened to our gut.
Exactly.
You know, so I think that's amazing that you're able to find that so early. And did you receive any scholarships when you were applying?
Yes, I did. I received, so each of the schools had their own, needs-based and also merit-based scholarships, which I received. And I also got some outside scholarships from the Hispanic Association in San Antonio. A lot of my scholarships were Hispanic-based. And I also got some from my high school through NHS and through the Spanish Honor Society.
Awesome. And can you talk to me a little bit about the process? Did you apply for scholarships?
I did those outside scholarships I applied for. The needs-based and the merit-based from those schools were just given to me based on my application, I believe.
Right. And do you remember like some of the larger amounts that you received, or one of the largest that you were just surprised? I actually applied to Trinity, and I also received a very, very large scholarship that I had to turn down.
Yes.
So I'd love to know if you also had that experience, and maybe, how hard that might have been.
It was very hard. I had the same thing happen to me in Trinity. I remember my mom, she said, you don't want to be in San Antonio so close. And I said, I don't think so.
Totally.
I had gone from being like, I want to go to New York, to all of a sudden saying, okay, 3 hours Houston, that works.
Yeah.
So yes, I did have to turn down large sums. I mean, I believe at Trinity it was a full ride.
Nice.
So
yeah, I had one for roughly, I think it was like 30 or 40,000 or something crazy. Or maybe it was less, but it was a large amount for my art portfolio.
Oh wow.
And so I couldn't believe it. It was very hard to turn down, but I think that's important, right? Is again to come back to that gut, that what feels right is the most important thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your major. You're majoring in health sciences. So let's talk about maybe one of your favorite classes, and then one of the classes you really didn't like that made you almost not even want to major in it.
Okay. My favorite class, hands down, was physiology. That basically human sciences was the reason why I decided to go down the path of health sciences. I had gone into Rice as, the typical pre-med with I'm going to major in biochemistry and cell biology.
Yeah.
And then you realize, oh man, this is kind of a heavy load. The class that I just despised the most was physics. I have a hard time with classes that I don't see the point in me taking.
Right.
I'm just like, why am I ever going to need this as a doctor? And, you later realize, well, okay, they were trying to test my problem-solving skills, and obviously it's also a weed-out course, right? But I also later realized there were some classes, like, for example, organic chemistry, that I did not like at first. And then later on, as I got deeper into my major, as I started taking other classes, such as right now I'm in sports nutrition, but before that I took basic nutrition, and I'm also I took anatomy, physiology, now exercise physiology, and seeing the connection between nutrition, exercise, health, it opened up my eyes to basically finding this passion that I had within me. So now when I go back to organic chemistry and biochemistry, I see it in the way of nutrition. I see it as food, as breaking down, biochemically in our body, the macronutrients, carbon, hydrogen. And now it's exciting versus before it was like,
why am
dull.
I studying this? Yes. So let's talk about a little bit about your essay for your application. I have it here with me. Would you be open to reading it?
Yes.
Or just like a section of it?
Sure,
Okay,
absolutely.
awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have you read the first paragraph of your essay, because I loved it.
Okay. Ready?
Ready?
All right. My passion for medicine spawned from my naive 10-year-old mind, whose major motivation for wanting to become a doctor was because, yes, you guessed it, I wanted to help people. This was a time when I perceived doctors as healers, experts in curing diseases and prescribing medicines. It was a time when I had no clue about the significance of scientific research, the role it played in medicine, and how passionate I would become about wanting to be part of it. It wasn't until I became diagnosed with a chronic endocrine disorder called polycystic ovarian syndrome, or PCOS, as a senior in high school that I began to view medicine, research, and my future career goals much differently.
Beautiful thesis statement, because it was so clear that something hit home for you on why you wanted to do it. And I love that you were so honest at the beginning, because you talk about wanting to help people and how you transformed it into wanting to do medicine.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was hard to talk about, you know, the truth. I was scared. I wasn't sure if it was okay, if that was, you know, something that I should do. And I just said, I need to tell my story, and I need to tell it, you know, the way that it happened, because that's how it all made sense.
So I would like you to read one more section, because I actually completely relate with what happens in this section, and the way you've written it, I think students can really learn from writing style that's very different than an English paper. So if you can start with that section, that would be awesome.
Sure. You can imagine my experience as a 17-year-old when I found myself gradually transforming from an optimistic and overachieving straight A student into someone I could barely recognize. As I entered my first 2 years of Rice, I felt my condition worsening and grew frustrated with the few options and support I was getting from my doctors. I tried every medication, every solution they prescribed me, but never saw any positive results. I developed an unhealthy body image, struggling to maintain my weight no matter how little I ate or how often I found myself in the gym. During this time in my life, I felt like I had no control. I was struggling to keep my grades up and struggling to build my self-esteem. I needed things to change. I needed to take my health into my own hands.
You know, that one's really huge for me, because I had no idea that I'd have a coach in the end that would have something that I had too. And the way you write about it is so specific to exactly what it feels like. And I think it's so important that you took that time to really express what it really feels like to go from a top student who, just like me, at the top of the class, and then all of a sudden was dealing with something that was so difficult. Mm-hmm. And I love that you were able to really explain this through your essay. So I just wanted to at least be able to share this, because it shows the passion behind why you chose your major. And I really feel most kids drop out of organic chem or drop out of nutrition or physics pretty early on. Mm-hmm. Would you say that this is probably what really drove you to stick through it?
Absolutely. I saw my end goal come to life through all the experiences that I had over the years. It was fuzzy at first. At first I was confused. I was, you know, upset. I felt victimized, kind of using this condition as I didn't want to use it as my downfall. I wanted to use it as what was going to push me forward, totally. What was going to make me change the world, you know?
Yes, girl prime. I know that. Totally, I totally agree. Well, I am so glad you could share your story with us about just why you picked your major, and you know, it would be really great if we can end with you telling us what it is that you're going to use your major for in the future.
Absolutely. I just received actually a research fellowship appointment from MD Anderson Integrative Medicine, the cancer center. So it's exactly, you know, the field that I want to be in. I know now I want to go into medicine, but as an integrative medicine doctor. So I was thrilled. It was a competitive application process, and to be a research fellowship, I'll be funded by the National Cancer Institute. So hopefully basically showing the world that prevention is key, that, you know, remedies that are natural and integrative are really fundamental right now to fight chronic disease. So.
Awesome. And then later on we'll be going to
medical school.
Yes. So that's your next step.
That is my next step.
Okay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ashley. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. So I hope you really enjoyed hearing from Ashley's story. There's a lot of things that we have in common together, actually, that really hit home for me. And it was just really exciting to really share her story and let her read her essay so that you can get a sense of why it is she got into what she wanted to do. So I hope watching that one video helped you to kind of get insight into what it's like to be a college student, but also to see how someone picks their major. Now, one of the major parts about picking your major, as you can see from the videos that we've been showing, is what is your passion? For me, I actually stumbled across it when I was 16. I started tutoring kids at 16, and I had no idea that's exactly what I wanted to do for a living. And I kind of went on this really long, roundabout road to get to where I am now, where I actually love every single day. I get to do the coolest projects. I mean, I used to read Chicken Soup for the Soul. Now I'm an author in it. I actually got to write my own book that really helped students learn all the things they needed to know on how to be successful in high school. And these are all really cool things that I've gotten to do just because I followed my passion. And I really want you to take some time writing out and journaling about what your passion is. What is it that lights you up every day? If I could find it at 16, I'm sure somewhere inside you, you know what makes you excited and makes you have fun, and I want you to find a way to incorporate that into your college career. So in the workbook, let's make a list of what it is that you love to do, and let's jot all this information down while it's fresh in your head. I'm so glad you joined me for this video, and I hope that all the notes that you're taking, you'll see